Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. As you can tell from the little intro into this, we have been talking for ages, and so much of this has been just about our selfish little selves, because I think a lot of the industry doesn't realize that we come into this journey with more than just the bodies that we have right now. And there's a past podcast that I will link down below where I spoke about this, but it's humongous in what Dal's about to talk about. And yes, I have Dal back on because our last podcast has just, it goes into every single reason why, regardless of whether you have weight to lose, regardless of whether you're someone who finds yourself losing and gaining the same weight, you can't see the muscle definition you want. It all comes down to the same thing. And if you look at the typical analogy of two ladders, one that has rungs strung really far apart and one that has like the little baby steps, it doesn't really matter with those ladders in themselves, because you're going to keep falling off them regardless. If the backpack that you take onto those ladders, aka the baggage from your past, is so heavy that even the smallest steps will not take you to where you want to be. Because yes, the smallest steps will at least get you further than trying to reach something that's too far out of your reach. And if you do finally climb up to that one, you're going to fall down to the like a lower level than if you were to do just the smaller steps, because then you'll not fall as fast. You're actually ingraining it, you're cementing it, you're making it something that can become your reality. But it's the baggage that a lot of us forget. It's the baggage that's going to keep weighing us down, that's going to keep popping itself over. And we were kind of talking about relationships before this. And if you keep finding yourself in the same toxic relationships, if you keep ending up with someone that leaves you the same type of disappointment, who's the common denominator? You. Like, this is not saying that it is your fault, which is what we're kind of leading this into, which is why I made the connection. This is not saying that it's your fault. And this is where I can kind of give my ADHD a pat on the back, because my brain just works in the most ridiculous of ways. But if you relate this to dieting, it is very difficult for you to make any steps forward when you're made to feel like you're to blame, like shit shouldn't be so damn difficult. Why are you finding it so difficult? Blah, blah, blah. Don't ask questions about X if you're still doing these basic things that you should already have sorted out. Well, who said you should? Number one. Number two, there's a reason that you're doing those things. And I actually think a good way to introduce this podcast is to kind of bring up a conversation I had recently. And it's to do with the fear of falling off track. Well, number one, what is the track? And number two, if we think about the fact that we are made to believe that we need to have all our shit together, that things need to look a certain way, then how are we going to succeed if we don't allow ourselves to just slow down, take one step at a time, and figure out, why is it that we feel like we're going to fall off? Why is it that we are now questioning ourselves? Why is it that we've fallen off before? I think we need to start there, because that is the only way that we can then get ourselves to a place to make that consistent progress. Because no matter what, that same baggage is going to keep coming up until we figure that part out. And sometimes progress is just that, building awareness. So with that, I'll let you take it off. I don't know where you want to start this with, but that's just what you were saying that kind of made me think of that. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right there, like awareness. Awareness is that first step. And then, of course, with awareness comes action. But with both those, like, you need to let go of the timeline. I think that's key. Like, we've talked about this before, but letting go of that timeline and allowing yourself that kind of grace and space to be able to learn and unlearn and figure things out for yourself. And that's why sometimes we were talking about this, like the messaging that we see often, it's like, it's your fault. Why can't you do this? Like, you have, just like you said, like, why are you even worried about this if you're not even doing this? And, it has, I think the messaging sometimes lacks compassion and empathy. And we, before Ruby hit record, we were just talking about like calories in and calories out. And no, we will not deny that. That is, what it comes down to, the law of thermodynamics. You want to lose weight, fat, that's what it comes down to. But it's just not as simple as that, because there's just so many other variables that come into play, and pointing the finger at yourself, and or you reading messaging that blames the finger at you isn't going to help move the needle at all. And so that goes back to what you were saying about baby steps, or taking small steps, and just keep moving forward. And I don't know, it bothers me. This is just my own opinion, Ruby, but it bothers me that in the industry, I see this type of messaging, and I'm just coming from my own personal bias and experience myself. But when I see that, if I were to see that, my old self, that would deter me even more. And shame, blame, fear, that doesn't work. It just...
want to know why I actually stopped you from saying this when I clicked record? It's because I didn't think about that until you mentioned that, because typically I would be like, well, you're still drinking, or you haven't even started tracking, so why are you focusing on these other things? But the thing is, if I even look at it from my target market, I can say, well, you can't, you don't have a business, so to speak, asking what deficit calories are or what dieting should look like for you if you don't even know what your freaking maintenance is yet. But at the same time, it's well, that's not going to make you want to sign up to the program, which I know as a fact, because I don't message that way. But once you do get into my coaching, this is the way that I teach you in a more loving way. But it's just this thing that I know at the back of my head anyway. It's well, it's very hard to even know what your dieting calories are if you don't even know what your maintenance calories are. And it doesn't even matter about going into a dieting phase if you haven't even established habits yet, because you're going to keep fucking up. Because try to build habits, let alone break habits, when scarcity is in mind, when you hardly have any calories to hit, when you keep falling off plan regardless, because you have all of these cravings, you're going to keep having this shame that you're already talking about, but no one's meeting you halfway. No one's meeting you with that empathy with what you're currently feeling right now. And it's feelings aren't facts. So get your shit together. That does not help anyone, because what you are feeling is so very real for you. It just doesn't mean that is going to lead you to where you want to be if you follow that as a yellow brick road.
Yeah. And it's okay, well, it's okay. I have a client that was afraid to go to McDonald's, for example. And what is that based on? Shame, because if she hits that drive-through, she feels shame. And it's well, there's nothing to be shameful about going to McDonald's. It's just what she's associated to over the years and the narratives that have been built because of that. And and so even if we're not in a deficit, what if progress meant going to McDonald's and getting that burger and being able to eat it and not feel shame? Or what if it means going to McDonald's, getting that burger and getting a Diet Coke because you've always had a regular Coke? But what a difference that would make, right? And so I don't know. My messaging is very much so it's okay. We can work on this. And it's like you said, it's about meeting that client where they're at. And for some people, they might come into this and sure, they may have no business going into a fat loss phase, but who are we to decide that? Essentially, as a coach, if they come in, what if it just means let's start and figure it out and see where we're at, and we can build from there? Because there's just so much, right? If we just right off the bat say, nope, sorry, you can't do fat loss because you haven't done maintenance. For me, just in my opinion, I don't know. I don't think that feels cool. I think you should be able to come in and we can establish that and get to that point and help that client kind of see that for themselves and realize that for themselves.
I was gonna say that though, because it's still, well, you actually do have no business doing fat loss. And I think it's not so much coming at it with you have no business doing this. Asking the questions, because I still feel no, I'm not going to put you into that, because what have you been trying thus far?
Yep.
What is it that you naturally gravitate towards? And someone said this to me. I can't remember how he said it, but it was something because he was a car salesman and he used to try to sell the cars, obviously. But the way he did it was because people would usually put it off and say, I'm coming back later.
Right.
Or whatever else it is. But he makes sure that is the car that they do want. And it's just obviously you get hit with this huge investment, price that you need to pay for a car, just like you get hit with this huge price from a coach or whatever else it is that is actually in the direction that you want to go. You actually want this car. It is so much better than your friggin' bug that's breaking down. Otherwise, you would not have sought this particular Mercedes Benz or whatever brand it is. Like, you would have went to a freaking, I don't know, Mitsubishi place if you wanted a freaking Mitsubishi. But no, there's a reason why you wanted a Mercedes Benz. It's just that you're going to keep putting it off because of it's a bigger price to pay than the other one that you want. And you probably are going to like the feeling of it. Like, there's a reason you gravitated towards it. But you're going to keep saying, no, put it off, put it off, put it off. And what he used to try to say is the decisions that you find the easiest to make are the reason why you are the way you are now. But the ones that you keep delaying on, the ones that you keep coming back with and blah, 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 is exactly the reason you are the way you are now. And you're not getting to where you want to be. And I will relate this to someone, ex-client, who keeps coming back to me. Like, fourth time she said she wants to come back, and I didn't really bother. I probably should have, but because I know that it's now the fourth time, I bothered the first time and the second time, and I did bother a little less on the third time because I know she's going to make the same kind of excuse, the same thing, because she did it again on the fourth time. I just spoke to my husband again, and business this. That is the point. Like, that is exactly what you said the last 3 times, and I know you're going to come back to me a 5th time. Because you don't believe, but this is the thing. It's not about them. It's not about that particular. I know that she's going to do this anyway. It's got nothing to do with me, shaming it. What I know it is, which is what I want to get you to talk about. I know as a friggin' fact that she does not believe that it's possible for her because of the shame that she already puts upon herself. Yeah. Because I know her to oblivion. I coached her for 4 years before she went to another coach that completely screwed her over. Because she came back to me again, literally crying in a voice message saying, I just want to fix this, blah, blah, blah. So then we fixed it. Like, she came back, I'm not going to say I fixed it. I helped her to see certain things and to move along the pathway. And she was still in the same mindset, like the same shame, the same self-criticism, fat this, fat that, all because of this ex-coach, because she was fine before. But this is the point. Like, things happen to us in the process that scar us. And we need to meet. Well, we don't need to meet. You need to meet yourself with that empathy and realize that shit isn't meant to be easy, because things have happened in your past that have made you doubt yourself, that have made you doubt that you could do anything. And the only thing that is going to end up stopping you is yourself and your self-doubt. Because if you don't believe you can, you're not going to do it. And I have another client, which, because she's obese, overweight, I want you to now speak to this particular avatar, because I know that you probably have similar clients. She doesn't believe she can do it now. She feels like she's always been in a fat loss phase. She hasn't, obviously, because there's the emotional eating that she is in denial of. And there's the, if she can't do something 100%, not at all. And then there's the overworking to compensate for that, never giving herself a break, not staying consistent with habits, but then not wanting, the worst thing that she does is not even celebrating the tiniest thing she does, because it's only this. It's just that. Yeah, well, I let myself get all happy about me doing X before and I fell off it. So why should I allow myself to get happy for it now? How would you approach that?
Curiosity. It's one big thing I've learned, working with Jeb too, like, just get curious, well, why? Why do you feel like that? Right? And it's one of those things where it's really taking a step back and just scaling back maybe, and like really being able to do things that are realistic for you within the parameters of your life, and not necessarily, and it might, like, maybe she's just doing all things and thinks she has to do all things. And, as a coach, it's up to us to just kind of sit back and say, okay, like, let's figure out what's going on. What are you feeling? Like, what's going on when you overconsume, or, you have one of those, like, quote unquote binge sessions.
But that's the thing, no, for her, like, if you were in her shoes, because you're I'm just saying you, if you were her, you're someone who finds it really difficult to just slow down, to even appreciate these things, because you're too, like, your mind is too busy. You're not even doing the work, and you don't want to do the work, because that to you, that's just another step back, and you have too many other things to do. And so you're doing the work, it's not tangible, but getting curious about things isn't even something you want to do, because your mind's too busy looking elsewhere, and you don't have enough time to even sit with things. Like, how can you, because I know that a lot of people are in this place where they don't believe they can do it. So then what's the whole point?
Yeah. Well, it's really just showing up every day and understanding that this is just all practice. Like, there's no, and maybe it's a conditioning. Maybe it's what she's been used to hearing, or what I know for me, it was what I was used to hearing, the diet culture, and it has to be like this, and the all or nothing, and not giving it enough time too, not being consistent, and kind of in that where like, and consistency can be defined. This is the thing, like consistency can be defined. This is how I feel. It depends on your life, right? Like what consistency looks like for me is going to be different for you. If I guess like I don't know her situation, but just having been there, it started with giving myself an understanding and recognizing that I needed to give myself kindness, compassion, and really understand that I could work within the parameters of my life, like that's what I needed to do. And I didn't start with that, but I eventually came to that conclusion. And so then it was taking a step back and saying, okay, it's okay if this is all I do. And so again, it's a narrative that, that's something that she's been telling herself and that's been conditioned. And it's the parts of herself that are protecting her.
That's what I wanted to get
to. Right? What part that like it's self-protection. The reason why we're not doing something or why we are doing something, like what's going on, and it's to really sit down and kind of work through that and figure that out. And it comes down to also like our nervous system being dysregulated, right? Like just not being able to regulate our emotions and our body perceiving that threat, whatever that may be. And how do we navigate that? And that's when compassion and empathy come into play for your client. It's like, it's okay, that happened. So what if you overate that day? That's okay. Like we're not moving backwards. We're gonna take that step, continue to take that step forward and move forward and figure this out and navigate through it and find things then strategies that work for you in that situation. And we want to learn to lead with those parts that fine, those things served us before when we were younger, how we reacted or how we dealt with things, but those things don't serve you now, today, in this moment. So what can we do today? And we want to lead with that part of ourselves. And it's not about, and this is one thing that I've learned, it's like we're not fighting the parts within us. It's just about learning to lead with the part that serves us today. I don't know, does that kind of make sense?
That's what I wanted to get to, because something that I've been working on, like she's come so far since we started. And the constant thing that is coming up, and just a constant theme, is overthinking everything, over intellectualizing everything, just wanting. If you're going to come into something with a perfectionist mindset where you need to maximize everything, you're never going to succeed, because in no world are you going to be able to maximize everything, because that's just like juggling 10 glass balls. You're not going to be able to keep them all in the air and shit is going to break. You need to have at maximum 3 glass balls. The rest are rubber, so that that you can let some of these rubber balls go. And guess what? They're transient. They can shift because they're magical balls. You can decide at any one moment which ones you're going to focus on the most. But I would say that your health balls should always be glass. Now, if we look at a ball, it's round. It's not a straight line. We need to think of these balls as a dial. Every single one of them has a dial on it. We need to stop thinking of things as 0 to 100. And the reason I feel this is such an important conversation, if we then come back to how we started it with the common denominator, the same is true for when you want to let go of fat loss, deficit. Like, it's not serving you right now. How has it served you before? If we keep going back to this as your source of comfort, like, what are you expecting out of it? You're not going to get change unless you change your approach. It's not changing the actions you take in themselves, because you can still have one foot out the door. It's changing how you think about things, because it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And in changing your awareness around that particular thing, you'll start to realize, hey, I keep wanting to diet every summer. Hey, this is why I'm not building muscle. Hey, there is something missing from this equation if I still am not seeing the results I want, despite trying to lose fat for like literally all my whole life. So what is it that I actually need to do to move forward? And you said that yourself just then. What is it that I need to do today? But also getting curious, because to me, curiosity is the only way that I've got to where I am now. The only way, because it's a huge value of mine. If I'm not curious about something, and if I don't understand something, I'm a rotten mess. And I'm always transparent on this podcast. Like, I am an open book if anyone has any questions about anything. And I don't even care if you want to ask me anything. But something that I've been trying to get really curious about, because all of a sudden, this is more of a personal life thing, which I think you guys can relate to as well. Which I will explain how you can relate. But all of a sudden, I just got this like uncontrollable crying, and I was listening to music. And if we relate this to the dieting world, there is a trigger and then there is a response. And uncontrollable was the word that I chose to use there, because you might find yourself uncontrollably emotionally eating. You need to find the trigger. But here's the issue. And I have this issue with one of my clients as well. This is more so to do with her personal life. But the thing is, who the fuck cares what you're doing with your nutrition and your training if you're not addressing the other stuff outside of that? Because it's the other stuff outside of that that is the root cause. I have a saying. We need to stop dealing with the issues you're finding downstream the river. Because if you're going to keep falling into the river and making your way downstream, we need to figure out what the hell's happening up the river to start with. Like, who's pushing you in? Maybe we need to beat them up, and figure out who actually is, if there's 3 people standing by the river and then you're finding your way downstream, we're not going to just beat up all 3 of them when only one is the culprit. We need to figure out what is actually pushing you into the river instead of having you struggle every single time. So find your way upstream, find the root cause. That is the thing we need to address. Right. And the only reason, I have 2 clients going through the similar thing where I'm actually going deep into their personal lives. One of them is making immense progress. She, day by day, she's a new person. And day by day, I'm a new person. I've come so far in the last 2 weeks. It's freaking insane. The things that I've learned about myself in the last 2 weeks. If you ever want to, I don't mind speaking about any of it. But the thing is, the reason one client is succeeding while the other one is still struggling to move at the same rate is because one is willing to feel the things and to get curious. But she also has the tools to do that. She has me, and she also has herself, because she's a therapist. She's a grief counselor. And she's coming on this podcast as well, and we'll be talking about this. So stay tuned for that podcast. But that's the only reason we're able to do this. And that's the only reason I'm able to dig as deep as I am, because she's doing the work. And I do the work too. I let myself feel the things. And the key word is getting curious. You can't just ignore the negatives. You can't just say, I'm going to just start again fresh tomorrow. Or fuck that, I always fail. So you can't do the shaming. The shaming isn't going to win. But the ignoring it isn't going to help you either, because it's going to keep coming up. There is a reason why you aren't where you are now, because fat loss is freaking simple. You would have lost the fat already. I lost 5 kilos in 4 weeks. Super easy. And most of that was fat and water. I didn't lose muscle through that. And I also was able to but I was able to build the muscle that I wanted to build as well. But that was in a span of 3 years. And that was also in a span of gaining body fat with that, which is why I then lost the 5 kilos, because I gained 7 kilos, and then but then I gained 1 back after that, because obviously there was a water weight that I lost with that, because I was eating so many carbs. So I lost mostly fat. And the only reason it was so simple and easy for me is because I set myself up, number one. I stopped sabotaging myself, because I used to be the person that used to diet for every summer or not eat enough calories or think that's 100. I'm rambling on too much. I'm sorry.
Going back to emotions, you dealt with your stuff, right? And
I pushed through the hard. I had someone to stop me doing dumb shit, because sometimes you're not going to be able to work it out yourself. You're going to need to trust someone to get you to do the things you need to do when you least want to do them, because the last thing you want to do is deal with something that is uncomfortable, that is new, that makes you feel these things, which is why the other client won't do it, because it hurts. And it does hurt. Mine has a lot to do with trying to figure out my emotions, and grief is something that I don't deal with well. I get uncontrollable crying when I think of losing stuff, losing anyone that means a lot to me. And this can even go to heartbreak. Anything to do with loss is something that I don't deal with well, because of the fact that I was never allowed to experience it as a child. I wasn't exposed to it. I wasn't allowed to funerals. I wasn't allowed to get a dog, because my mom said that if I get a dog and I lose the dog, I'm not going to be able to live, pretty much.
And you've done that, though. You've taken the time to kind of figure out and get into what are the causes, what was it for you, right? Go ahead.
One last thing, because I didn't make that connection until now. Holy shit. See how I don't deal with grief well? It's because I never actually got exposed to it when I was younger. I avoided it. And this is the same with you. The struggles that you have now are because you've never dealt with it in the past, or you have avoided it in the past. So
Yeah, of course.
we're going to need to go through these things in order to get you to where you want to be, because it's not as simple. We said this on the last podcast, I think, which I still need to put up that reel. It's not as simple as saying discipline. It's not as simple as saying, you know, you want to do this. Yeah, we did. You know, you want to do this, so do it. It's about what is holding you back, because yeah, you want to do it. It's not a lack of will. It's not a lack of wanting it. It's not a lack of trying. There is a reason you're not. Now you can monologue.
Yeah, no, I was just, sorry. Sorry. I've just kind of been thinking about this whole thing, but it's not a lack of discipline. It's none of that. It's really, again, coming back to the self-awareness, and then really dealing with, like, everything's emotional, whether it's stress, boredom, whatever it is. And the key is to learn to recognize that. And even if things happen and, like you said, not off track, like, what is the track? The track is that. It is for you to allow that flexibility in that space for that to happen so that you can learn from it. This is all just practice and reps, right? We need to practice. We need to put in the reps. For me, like, you're never failing. I don't believe in failing. I just believe in, it's an experience. That's it. It's an experience. Let's see what we can extract from that. Let's see what we can learn from that about ourselves. And then how can we proceed, moving forward? And then how do we implement strategies and tools or whatever that might help us in the future when this happens? This is not to say that it's not going to happen again. It will, right? The key is that the duration and frequency to decrease that, because it will happen. It's going to happen. I mean, who isn't stressed out?
Can you say that part again? Frequency?
The goal is to decrease the frequency and duration of these so-called episodes. That's it, right? That's the key.
Because a lot of people feel like if they still do X, it's a fail. But
it's not a fail. This is just it. You're never failing. You're just learning about yourself. You're learning about what you can do in the future. It's just practice. If we look at this as practice, then we're able to give ourselves some more grace, and we're able to let go of that timeline, and we're able to say to ourselves, it's okay. And then that builds on the self-trust and the belief and, our capability to be able to do this. So if you don't feel that you're capable because you always think that you're failing and the all or nothing mindset, then yeah, we're going to continue to, fuel that kind of cycle and be stuck in that loop. But how do we break free from that loop is just to, give yourself, really come at it with some kindness and for yourself. And that doesn't mean not to do the things that you need to do, but you don't have to do all things all the time. That's why we say what you do most of the time matters more than what you do some of the time. So
how can you break out of any cycle if you don't even know what cycle it is? How can you break out of any cycle if you don't even know what the trigger is? Just like the same thing with the emotional stuff. How could I work my way through something more meaningful and fulfilling? And that was kind of what sparked the call I then had with that client, and what sparked that post that I don't know that you commented on that one, the one about what strength means to you and what confidence means to you. That's the one that made me think about it, because, for example, grief and love, it's very difficult for you to allow yourself to feel the depth of any emotion, or for you to experience the greatness that love could be in any one sort, if you are so scared of what if X happens? What if X happens again? And this is the same with dieting, because if we relate it to what is the whole point going all in? What's the whole point letting myself go? I don't want to, like, for me, I hope you guys are kind of staying with this. For me, if I had to be honest, there's like, okay, cool, there's a mountain cliff and I can let myself fall. And we say the cliff is like love. I can let myself like fall and not have a safety net and just let myself go deep, and then risk the feelings of being hurt, of something happening, of being rejected, of the worst thing ever, them not reciprocating the feelings, or whatever else there is as a fear there that you're going to need to figure out what is the fear of you not letting yourself go. Or I could let myself go kind of, but still have a safety net there. And that is the same as you saying, I'm trying to build muscle, I'm trying to end this cycle, but I'm going to keep one foot out the door because I know that I'm going to lose fat soon. I know that this is going to happen. I know that I'm going to have to shred this off. So that is still lingering in the back of your mind, meaning you're never actually doing the building. You could be eating more and still not be doing the building, still not be successful at fat loss whenever you go into fat loss. Because I know many people that have done the building, but they still fuck up fat loss. Well, no freaking shit. You've had it on your mind the whole time that you were building muscle that you're going to go back into fat loss. That is not ridding diet fatigue. Fat loss, weight loss resistance is you thinking about the fact that you have fat to lose, that you need to lose that fat. And this is not saying, hey, we're not getting rid of that fat. Hey, you're letting go of your body goals. Hey, building muscle I'm anti-diet. I'm anti-fat loss. No, I'm not. It is, but like to me, this happens not constantly, but more often than not. When I finish my last meal, this is why I rather just go long periods without eating and have more wholesome, high caloric meals, because I don't get hungry. Like my hunger signals from my past of eating disorders and all that kind of shit. My eating signals. Like I don't get hungry and I don't get full. Well, I do get hungry, but I don't get any signals. And I have probably something wrong with my leptin, but I don't know what. Like my stomach gets really full. I can sensualize the feeling of full, but my brain never registers you're full. I just feel, oh my God, my stomach is huge. I mean, like it's full, not huge as in fat. I don't do that shit anymore. But oh my God, my stomach is huge. I'm full. I can feel the pressure, but I still want to eat. What the fuck is this? So I needed to have this scaffolding. I need to have a certain level of discipline, quote unquote discipline, but I need to have rules around that. But sometimes I'll still go to the fridge and have something after I eat my very last meal, which is like 1,000 calories, something of food, which is my last meal. It's like my biggest meal, which I'm slowly cutting out of. It used to be 1,500 calories. Now it's 1,000, slowly working that down to put it into my other meals.
Right.
It's not a lack of not eating enough food. I eat a lot of food throughout the whole day. I'm not starving the whole day. I'm eating 2,600 calories-ish. It's nothing to do with that. But I would still want to go into the fridge and have something. And many of the times I do, something small. I would struggle the hell to say no to that if I didn't allow myself to build. Like right now, I don't care because I'm not in fat loss. But if I was in fat loss, I'd be saying, no, I'm not having anything extra. But if you're chronically thinking about restricting, chronically thinking about you need to eat less, you need to say no, you need to be disciplined, you can't let yourself get fat, which for me was, I can't let myself get fat. I can't get bloated. It wasn't like, that was my fear. But if I let myself this, I'm going to lose control. If I let myself have the tiniest little bit of rope, I'm going to like it so much. I'm going to love the laziness feel. I'm going to love the feeling of more food. I'm just going to let myself go too far in that direction because now I'm remembering how amazing it is. Like that was my fear. Because
so how did you overcome that? I guess that's the question. Because even though you're on the other side of it, like, you didn't want to gain weight initially. So what helped you overcome that? Because I think the same principle would apply for someone that,
yeah,
right?
That's the very thing. And I want to quickly just say, this is exactly what I meant by you need to let yourself go to experience the amazingness that love could be, to experience the depth of those feelings. If you're ever to experience what could be, and it's almost like, well, your dogs are going to die before you, but are you going to stop spending time with them, stop making memories with them, stop taking photos with them, all because you know they're going to die and you're going to have to say goodbye and have all the grievances? For me, I would have never done that if I hadn't had a coach. And this is the point, like you need a coach. But the thing is, stop hiring coaches for weight loss. Stop hiring coaches to just sort your shit ASAP. You need to stop asking what the minimum time frame is. If you're going into a coaching relationship asking what the minimum time frame is, you're already in the wrong place.
Okay, but Ruby, you know, we say that, and I'm like that too. I don't give, like, my messaging is based on, there's no timeline. You come to me, it takes as long as it takes. I'm not going to guarantee any fat loss, but all you see is, if you're seeing messages from the fitness world about lose 50 pounds in 90 days, lose, 20 pounds in the next, I don't know, 8 weeks, or 15 pounds.
Go ahead, do that.
Right?
Go ahead, do that. But how's that work for you so far?
Exactly. But this is what people are gravitating towards. And if, as coaches, the kind of messaging that we're sending out, then that's a type of clientele you're going to get. And then you're going to feed off that. And maybe people are going to lose weight, but does it stick? Is it sustainable? Is it long term? I don't think so. It's not. And I know that from experience because I've been through it. I've done all the time diets. I've done the 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 21-day fix, name it, right? Extreme dieting. Did it ever last? No, because there's more to it. And so again, going back to, like you're saying, just giving it time and experiencing that, and just, I feel like it takes 6 months for people to just get their feet wet, to actually get a hold of things.
And
even if you only have 15 pounds to lose.
Here, do you want to know what this comes back to again, Dal?
Right.
Shame.
Yeah.
It's taken me this long. Oh my God, what am I doing wrong? But then it's also coming back to the whole what keeps getting in the way. But also, I don't think people get curious enough about, like we mentioned, the feelings. Where are they coming from? Like, oh, these should be happening faster. Why do you think that? Have you thought this before? But beyond that, people just have these feelings, all these thoughts that X should happen. No one actually tries to dream, well, not dream, but like fabricate a future where you did take action and get like towards what you think should happen. Okay, cool. So let's say that X is supposed to happen and you're falling off track, whatever, or you feel like it should be happening faster. What do you think you need to do? Let's start playing that out now and let's try to get to the end of it. Most people have only played out like the first scene of it and it looks like the best choices ever. But now actually follow it through to the end and try to get to the after photo in your head that happens there, but then the after. No one ever even can think of what happens then.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, like I think for a lot of my clients, I have a lot of clients that don't have a lot of weight to lose, like 20, some 30 pounds, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like when you start, no matter what point you're at, you still have to go through the process. And that process takes time. And within that process is where you're going to learn, unlearn, and you have to, and I will die on this hill. You can read whatever you want. The coach can say this. You can read 10 different posts, all the coaches saying same things and a client just said this to me today too, until you experience it yourself and you can say, yep, that's right. Yep, I get it. You won't believe it. Right. And so what does that mean? What does it really come down to? It means allowing yourself to build those habits, to go through the process and to build that self-trust, self-belief, and that you're capable of doing this. And so many of my clients are 10 months in, and now we're at the stage where I can say, let's get into an actual fat loss phase where it's dialed in, you get out. But for the last 10 months, yeah, there's been fat loss. But within that fat loss, there's been maintenance, there's been vacations, there's been learning to navigate life events, stress, children, everything. And so, yes, technically you've lost fat. You weren't in dedicated fat loss phases. But look how much you've learned and look at what you've set yourself up for now. Now you're in a place where, yeah, let's get in, let's get out. So,
wow. There's two things you said. The first one is you need to go through the process, but something about the way you said it made me feel like, why are you making it feel so hard for me? But no, the thing is, you're not. It's the fact that the process has been made to be this daunting thing. Like, oh my God, do I really have to do that? But that's the part that everyone's kind of missing. That's probably the stupidest thing you can do. I'm just going to say that flat. That's the stupidest thing you can do because there is no progress. There is no outcome. You're not doing outcomes. You're doing the process. There is no, let's get you to an outcome. There's no such thing. It's let's get you to do the process. Along the way, your results happen. The results happen as a byproduct of the process. So why is the process so shameful? Why is the process something you want to avoid? You're not going to get somewhere. I'm sorry. You're not a Google Maps. We don't just pick a little stick man and go, hey, you're going to just flop there and you need to find your way around. But I think that's what stops a lot of people from getting anywhere because they're like, oh my God, I have to make my way into this whole new world. I don't know how to keep my results. I'm failing. Well, no fucking shit if you're doing a 12-week challenge. But the right process, you're building the habits, you're building the lifestyle, you're working through these different things. In 12 weeks, you're not doing that. In the process of actually traveling the distance, you become a whole new person. Mm-hmm. The process shapes you. The process makes you.
But they don't know, like you said, oh, it's the stupidest thing that you can do. It's the thing is, though, I don't think most people understand and realize that. And so it's not a lack of knowledge or, it's not. And it's not a lack of intellect, like none of that. It's maybe you just don't know what you don't know. And maybe your experience has been, and I know this for, one of my clients, like just got set up with the wrong professionals and people that are supposed to be reputable, and they just gave them the wrong advice and these really extreme things. And so that's what they learned. And so this is just to say that, again, coming from a place of compassion and empathy, maybe it's just that they don't know, and maybe that they don't know they need to go through this process. And that's our job as a coach, to guide them and walk them through and hold their hand and eventually slowly let go and let them figure out things for themselves and see it, because I can sit here and tell you things until you're blue in the face, but until you realize it for yourself and learn these things, and then you're like, shit, oh my God, I'm not stupid. Oh my God, it wasn't me. That's just what I learned. That's what I was taught. And look, there's a new way, and I'm learning I can have this, and I can eat this, and I can do this, and I can work within the parameters of my life. I can have cultural foods. I can, even though I come from like a South Asian background, like I do, like I can still eat my foods and still succeed.
The only way though, I don't think this is like the way that you just said that too. It's perfect, because it's not to do with the fact that we don't see that, you don't know that. Like Del and I were just laying it out there in a different way, but we already know this. Like, we're good coaches. She's amazing. And I'm going to toot my own horn and say I'm really good at working it through this stuff with my clients. But like I just mentioned about that other client working with some life stuff, the reason she's not making progress isn't from a lack of me getting curious with her and being compassionate. It's a lack of her own self-compassion. But like you said, it's the history trail. And this all relates back to relationships as well. Your ex cheated on you in the past. So now you're not going to trust the next person that comes along, because now you're clinging on to these past ghosts. Are you going to allow yourself to have a fulfilling relationship ever? No, because you're so hyper aware that this person could be cheating on you. This person can't be trusted. And in doing that, you're going to fuck up the relationship, because relationships are built on trust. And if you don't let yourself let go and have that trust, you're going to fuck it up. Like, it just is reality. And that's the same with what you're doing with your diet, because what you believe to be true is what your brain is going to make it be true. You're going to self-sabotage to prove to yourself that that is the case. It's pure psychology.
And self-sabotage meaning self-protection, right? Like, you're protecting yourself from that pain.
So this is why you need to have compassion here, because it's not something you're doing wrong. There is a reason you're doing what you're doing. I thought this was absolutely stupid. I forgot I got asked this question, but I thought it was absolutely stupid when someone said to me, why are you doing this? What benefit is it bringing you? I'm like, none. Why the fuck would it bring me benefit? I want to stop doing it. And that's all I said. I could not see anything more into it. And, I think the biggest struggle for women, especially, is that number one, we think we should have all our shit together and figured out. But number two, we think that we should be able to have all the answers straight away, that we should be able to answer the questions that our coaches give us straight away, that we should not struggle, that we should not relapse. But relapse is part of that's number one. And number two, you don't need to have all the answers right away. That's what the freaking process is about. Like, the process is there. And I know this myself. Like, it is so incredibly hard for me to let go of this, because like there is a real fear of that, like, it as dumb as it is, but at the same time, exactly, that's the thing. It's not dumb. The reason it's there, there's a reason there's that thing there.
Yeah. Well, girl, obviously I have to go. I have a client call, but to be continued. Just this last phrase that you just said, like, to be continued, because there's so much to unpack just within that. So thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I'm
so excited to talk about this. But just to leave you guys on edge, Dal was supposed to be doing a fat loss phase as well not too long ago, and we do want to touch on that too, because we cut it short. For like, she still has weight she wants to lose. She's lost she's lost like a whole of her. She's half the size she used to be. But she had to put herself in maintenance. And this is that whole fear of letting yourself go XYZ. But we're going to talk about why she stopped that fat loss phase, because it's the reason so many of you ladies keep yourself stuck, because you feel like you need to reach this end goal and there's this rush. But this still comes down to all the stories we tell ourselves. So I hope you guys benefited from this. It was a little bit of everything, but if you stop to think about how it relates, you'll start to realize that you're not the problem. It's more so the fact that you're not seeing clearly because you've only learnt it one way. So that one way is your reality. But with that, I hope you guys benefit from this. And if anything touched you, please reach out to us and you will hear us in the next podcast episode together.